which other are you both like Star Wars geeks?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah?
This is Darth
Okay.
Maul right behind my
Yeah,
head.
yeah. Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
sure, Star Wars.
Let's decide this whole event based on a completely arbitrary Star Wars thing.
Okay.
Underappreciated.
Which is the most disappointing Star Wars movie? From you're not saying if we're not talking quality, we're not talking anything else, but just the factor of disappointing. It could still have been a better movie later on. It could have built like you could go prequels with this. You could go you could go Return of the Jedi.
If you want Rian Johnson's, you can have it.
No, because I kind of liked that one. So if you want it, you can have it.
Let's hear the choices first. Think about this. All you're talking about is disappointment. How you argue it is completely up to you.
Craig, you can pick whichever one, and I'll pick. I have a couple of choices.
I don't want to pick the Rian Johnson because it's cliche. It's so overly done
fair.
at this point. Like,
all right, fair.
I'll go with the last film, The Ninth.
Okay, fair enough. I'll go for Phantom Menace then.
Phantom Menace versus what was The Rise of Skywalker?
Rise of Skywalker, yeah.
Okay, let me get the timer
I
out.
should have picked Rise of Skywalker. I have a rant about Rise of Skywalker.
Oh well. It'll be interesting to see you counter and say why it's not disappointing. But okay. Who goes first? Any preferences? Because the order is mashed up here.
Yeah, go for it. I'm easy.
All right. When you start speaking, the timer goes.
Oh, I'm going.
Oh yeah, I didn't know if you meant me. You want me? I can go. I don't care.
Whoever starts speaking first goes.
I'll just go. All right,
go.
So it was essentially 20 years of anticipation. The trilogy had ended with Return of the Jedi. There were rumors of whether or not episodes 1, 2, and 3 would be, but no more than theories in geeks throughout the late 80s and early 90s. And as rumblings began throughout the mid 90s of, I think George Lucas is writing the prequels, and more they were starting to test the waters with Shadows of the Empire and loads of little things to see what sort of a test of the market for Star Wars there was. And then all of episode 1 came out. It was one of the biggest, most downloaded trailers in the internet at that point. People literally went to see what was a Meet Joe Black to watch the trailer for it or something like that. Wow. And all of the build up to this movie, and it was not good. It was full of a lot of boring politics that people weren't ready for, and a lot of Jar Jar Binks, who was an absolutely mischosen moment in acting, in CGI pioneering. Technologically cool, but they needed to learn a lot. And yeah, the Phantom Menace, there was just a huge disappointment based on the absolute hype going in.
Time. Really nice. Good build up. Then talking about disappointment, really nice. Craig, Return of the Jedi. Sorry, Rise of Skywalker. Stupid.
I'm just gonna start off with this. What's your name? Skywalker. Yeah, we all remember that. You know what? The memes that came from the prequels live to this day. Basically, no one's talking about those last 3 films. They were all 3 of them were a disappointment in their own right. But the thing that's so tragic about the very last one is you can blame Rian Johnson for going in a completely wonky direction and killing the franchise, but look what they did with the last film. They completely just gave up on whatever he was building, and they said, J.J. Abrams, please, God help us, save us right now. Let's go back to the same cookie cutter stuff that we can to try and save this project. No one was pleased with it. Bringing back the Emperor and all that, it was cliche. They had a lot of source materials from Legends to go to that they could have done a good franchise. They never even planned this thing out. This was an abysmal 3 movies that they didn't have their ducks lined up. The 3rd film is kind of like the case bellum of all of it. they threw in a bunch of characters and killed characters off. Like Finn, it's terrible. What is he doing in this film anymore? Why did they even have him? He's not. They've completely misused their characters. They fumbled what they were doing. They built up all these things in the first film. They kind of drop it in the second film, but at least there was a direction it was going in. In the third film, they just reverse everything. Rey is a Mary Sue. I don't care what anyone thinks. That's true. It's pretty pathetic writing, and they depended just on big boom ships and another Death Star situation. Like what to do?
All right, John, you have to say why The Rise of Skywalker is actually not that disappointing.
In comparison to the point that I was making about the Phantom Menace, so when Rise of Skywalker came out, particularly after the divisive response that The Last Jedi had, I don't think as many people were as shocked by The Rise of Skywalker being bad. I mean, I very briefly was sucked in by the trailer going, oh, this could be good actually, but then going to see it, it's like, they fly now. And it's like, okay, yeah, no, this is actually as bad as I was expecting it to be. So yes, it was a disappointment, but Phantom Menace, for at least for the Star Wars fans, Star Wars goes in a cycle of 30-year-old men discovering that Star Wars is actually made for 12-year-olds. And so the Rise of Skywalker and the whole sequel trilogy was just another cycle of that. But the Phantom Menace was the first time when 30-year-olds realized this.
One of the strongest rebuttals I've heard. Craig, good luck, buddy.
How many video games have been made for the last film? This is Pod Racing, N64, Battlefront 2. A lot of games. They love the Clone Wars and everything. Phantom Menace wasn't that much of a disappointment to the kids. Everyone remembers Darth Maul. His comic series is awesome. Darth Maul's an iconic character, one of my favorite. And look at the amount of story they've driven into the Clone Wars and all these other properties to talk about Darth Maul more. Are we talking about the episode 9? Is there a comic series dedicated to that? I don't know, because I couldn't care less. It's terrible. No one wants to read about that. No one cares about Rey. Does anyone care about little Anakin? Maybe he's like a lukewarm character, but still, he gave us what we thought would be, well, this is going to be future Darth Vader. Palpatine in the first film. Did you know he was going to be the Emperor? I mean, if you're older, maybe not. If you're a kid, you had no idea. They did a good job. Yes, the politics can be boring, but George Lucas wanted to build all his scenes where people were talking on couches a lot. One more time.
Wow. Just looking at John with Darth Maul behind him, that was such a strong argument. Just
hold on,
wow.
Hold on.
It's been waiting for this moment. That was, I mean,
were these the games you were talking
Yo, that pod racing game was fire, honestly.
I remember that as a kid. I just really liked that game.
Yeah.
On 64.
I wasn't that much of a Star Wars fan, but I played that game to death.